There's a reason you stand out. A reason why your presence influences the energy in whatever location you visit. You're not like the others. You never were. You felt it. Have you ever been so quiet, knowing deep within yourself that the truth is unshakable? That you were meant for something greater? Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will be celebrating it. Some will be drawn to your light. Others will run. Your power makes me feel intimidated. And this is how it should be. Because rising requires putting up a mirror to the world. Those who believe in their own potential will be inspired by your strength. Those who have suppressed their potential through bitterness and fear will see a reflection of what they have denied themselves. And rather than confronting their own choices, they will try to reduce you, silence you, and force you to renounce the very strength that distinguishes you. Allow them to talk. Allow them to strategize. Allow them to cast shadows. You are unaffected by it. It doesn't stop you. You were meant for this. Every attempt to break you just sharpens your edge. Every setback fuels your progress. Every ounce of criticism you get confirms that you are exactly where you should be, rising beyond their grip. Walk boldly with your truth. Stand in your power. You were not created to blend in. You were born to break through. Nothing can stop what has been divinely protected. An inner radiance that will not fade. That is what makes you unique. It shines despite the hardship, cutting a path through the fog of uncertainty with unwavering light. The strength inside you is clear. It not only illuminates your journey, but also acts as a mirror for others. Their personal truths. And that's when the tension begins. To some, your presence is a catalyst, a call to rediscover their hidden strength and strive for more, to assert their own power. To others, however, your light is an unwelcome intrusion, revealing elements of themselves that they would rather keep hidden. In your presence, self-doubt, missed ambitions, and fear-driven choices become painfully obvious. Some will be drawn to you, seeking shelter in your unwavering confidence, and hoping to absorb even a little of the clarity you emit. Others will not back down from the underlying challenge that your presence poses. Their sorrow is not your responsibility to endure. You should not shrink to accommodate weak egos. Your strength is not arrogance. It symbolizes a spirit that refuses to be bound by uncertainty or fear. And although some may strive to cast shadows on your brightness, their efforts are unsuccessful. The fact is simple. Those who are bothered by your light are fighting their own darkness, whether they know it or not. Your mere presence forces them to confront their own stagnation. To those on the outside looking in, your accomplishment seems to be a gift rather than something you earned. They fail to realize the years of resilience built through hard work, unshakable discipline, and unseen sacrifices. Instead, they regard your achievements as an unfair advantage, as if fate propelled you ahead while leaving them behind. However, they mistake the meaning of blessings. What individuals see as wealth is really congruence and unwavering adherence to purpose. An unwavering faith propels every stride forward. Your development is not accidental. It is the result of moving with the goal of being steady in your mission. When the world tried to convince you otherwise, those who fail to see this reality allow envy to poison their view. They do not notice the battles you fought, just the victories you have attained. They feel that the universe has benefited you at their expense, as if success were a limited resource rather than the consequence of work. Their rage blinds them to the reality of your journey, turning admiration into resentment and respect into competitiveness. They compare their own struggles to your triumphs, believing they have been wronged simply because they cannot see the basis on which you stand. However, you are not to blame for their displeasure. You are not responsible for their inability to see their own strengths. You are not required to shrink for the sake of those who refuse to grow. Your light does not throw any shadows on others. It just reflects what they have yet to accept about themselves. Let them watch. Allow them to pass judgment. Allow them to combat their own reflections. You have job to do, and your objective will not wait for their acknowledged completion. Your spirit is imbued with an unspoken vigilance, a whispered alarm that rings whenever hidden depravity approaches. It's not simply discomfort. The underlying knowledge inside you is a sensitive detecting device that recognizes damaging intentions before they manifest. Words and pleasant gestures may disguise what lurks underneath, but your instincts perceive the conflict between seeming politeness and underlying hostility. This intuition is not a product of imagination. It is a profound connection that goes beyond the visible world, alerting you to energies tainted by jealousy, hatred, or malice. When such impulses reach your internal voice, even when others attempt to be kind, quietly pushes you to preserve your boundaries and remove any leftover negativity from your surroundings. You can feel empty and frigid in their company. They go about their everyday lives, consumed by a silent hatred that drives them to fabricate elaborate stories of gossip and false insinuations in an attempt to dim the light they see in you. In their perspective, your accomplishments and high respect are targets to be attacked via subtle words disguised as concern or casual conversation, all in an effort to erode trust in you. Underneath these controlled statements is sadness, an unresolved emptiness that refuses to go unnoticed. Every assertion they make tells more about their internal turmoil than about you. They may convey a sense of seriousness, but the thin veneer cracks when envy seeps in. They sowed the wind, they will reap the storm. Hosier is 87. Beloved, let me tell you something. What each person sows, they will undoubtedly reap. Those who talk in the dark, those that strive to pull you down. They feel they are spinning a web for you, but in reality, they are entangling themselves in chains because you cannot plant seeds of lies, hatred, and envy and expect to harvest peace. It does not work that way. Join the journey. Subscribe now, and let's make greatness happen. Consider a man who constructs his house on a cracked foundation. Initially, everything seems to be okay. The walls are tall. The paint is fresh. The structure seems to be sturdy. However, the cracks steadily widened. The weight of what was built on falsehood starts to press down. And one day, the whole system fails because of its intrinsic fragility. This is how it works with people who have hidden hatred. They can keep it secret for a while. They may claim to be honest. They may provide an outstanding performance. However, what has been concealed inside eventually emerges. You see, they meant to weaken you, to plot in other people's minds, to twist narratives to their benefit. However, their words do not reflect the spirit of truth. They carry the weight of their own wounds. Whether they realize it or not, their wounds are clearly visible. People begin to notice. Take notice of the tension, contradictions, and underlying animosity underneath the front. The more they talk, the more their true intentions become evident. They sought to cast shadows over your name, but instead exposed the depravity inside their own hearts. Every rumor, charge, and attempt to undermine you does not make you weak. It reflects them like a mirror back to their source. Their actions reflect their internal problems. And this is reality. When you operate from a place of wrath, you end up constructing a prison for yourself. They thought they were pulling people against you. Instead, they have concentrated on their own agony. They wanted to undermine your foundation, but their own is crumbling under them. Their enmity divides them. Their plans fail. Finally, they are standing alone in the pit. They tried to dig for you. And you don't even have to fight them. There is no need to engage in their drama. There is no need to defend oneself from something that is already showing itself. You just keep going with purpose. Keep standing. In fact, continue to shine in the light. Because the more they attempt to bring you down, the more clear it becomes to everyone around you. They had never stood on solid ground to begin with. But, as for you, you had negative feelings about me, but God meant for everything to be wonderful. Genesis 5020. Let me remind you, beloved, that no force of darkness, wicked intent, or weapon formed against you can thrive. God uses the exact things that were intended to break you to build you. They meant to do harm. God works for your good. Consider how gold is cleansed via fire. The heat is intense. The pressure is great. However, the fire does not consume the gold. It cleans it. It burns away flaws, exposing the true brilliance. This is exactly what happens when you are presented with a terrible scenario. Insults, envy, and veiled hopes for your doom. None of it sticks. None of this takes root. Instead, everything becomes fuel, driving you higher and stronger. Improve your judgment. There is a heavenly hedge encircling you, an invisible screen that intercepts every scheme and transforms it into something useful for you. They anticipate you to stumble, but you really stand taller. They wanted to weaken your resolve, but instead, your faith in God strengthens. They wanted to drain you, yet their hostility became the very thing that fed your spirit. You know, when someone harbors enmity against you and sits in bitterness, plotting against you, they feel they are bringing you harm. But they don't realize they're merely exposing their own wounds. They do not break you. They reveal themselves. Instead of seeing you fall, they watch their own hostility disintegrate into dust. You are unable to resist the favor that falls on your life. Every obstacle, every whispered doubt, and every attempt to pull you down builds the foundation for your strength. You are undeterred by their tactics because you know who you are. You are going with a divine purpose. You are endowed with divine favor. What others throw at you cannot derail what God has prepared. They thought they were casting shadows on you, but they instead shed light on their own restlessness. They thought they were emptying your spirit. Instead, you feel more energized, confident, and in sync than ever before. Their resistance was not an obstacle. It was a stepping stone. So let them converse. Let them plan. Allow them to strategize. It will not work. The more they push, the higher you'll go. The more they resist, the stronger you'll become. You were not made to shrink. Never plan to fold. Never plan to be held back by the opinions of those who do not comprehend your life's purpose. Maintain firmness, loyalty, and unwavering resolve. Because everything that was meant to harm you has been converted into a victorious testimony. What they intended was depravity. God is working for good. There is nothing they can do to stop it. Every insult, every act of scorn, becomes a stepping stone on your path to advancement. Each negative statement serves as a spark, lighting the flame of compassion around you rather than bringing you down. Their maliciousness accidentally accelerates your ascent. Their attempts to damage, paradoxically, become the driving force, propelling you to new heights of comprehension and reigniting a flame they previously attempted to extinguish. You may experience a greater connection to the divine. Every time someone lashes out because their animosity has exhausted them, you escape unscathed, bolstered by the same momentum they intended to use against you. Rise up. Subscribe now. They do not see the futility of their actions, nor do they comprehend how each assault is intended to bring agony. Instead, strengthen your spirit. The energy they use pulls them further into anguish, while you remain outside their grip, empowered by the same rage that they said would knock you down. What was designed to limit you is now working to develop you. So you ascend above, absorbing the energy of their hatred and transforming it into an unbreakable sense of purpose, impenetrable and even more robust than before. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace surround you today. Remember this information. Your existence is solidly rooted in God's divine plan, undisturbed by worldly concerns. Luke 638 states, "Give, and it will be given to you." Your faith, like a robust tree, is deeply anchored in His truth. When you give from a position of faith, whether via the super thank you button or another act of kindness, blessings will come in plenty. So be confident and watch God work in your life. You emanate a calm solidity that expresses a sense of your position in a vast tapestry. However, few people comprehend the underlying mechanics that underpin life. You've accepted everything and chosen your course. Malice, doubt, or hate are changed into tools for your rise. never settling in your spirit or lowering your goals. Instead, it converts into a rejuvenating agent. A cycle of adversity was changed into empowerment. In this process, what was intended to be detrimental becomes, paradoxically, the very element that fortifies your path. The vibratory realm you occupy remains out of reach of those functioning at lower frequencies. Regardless of their malicious intentions, each act reinforces your sense of purpose, helping you to get a greater knowledge of who you are and why you are on this trip. Their attempts to disrupt become catalysts, demonstrating the power of your dedication. While they fight with their own darkness, you find yourself drawn to an unlimited source of nutrition that they cannot access. The hostility they bring fertilizes the soil of your blessings, tying you even more to the favor and protection that guides your way. This is the essence of what has been given to you, a constant immunity to the shadows that others seek to throw. They unintentionally serve as the architects of your good fortune. Each furious thought, each stinging remark is carved by divine purpose, magnifying the light that illuminates your path, even if they use bad energy. Your spirit operates like a mirror, reflecting only light. Forging is a continuous alchemical process that strengthens your resistance. Gifts arrive along the route. When jealousy or resentment take root in someone's heart as a direct response to this transition, stressing the profound bond that ties you to a higher level, it taints every gesture they make, painting their words and actions with unmistakable bitter colors. Such animosity becomes to define them. Clinging is like a thick, heavy garment that becomes thicker as they continue to nurture it. Their negativity, initially hidden behind casual remarks or half-hearted smiles, it soon emerges as a persistent presence that cannot be missed. The difference is profound. People who previously noticed just little sparks of rivalry now have an obvious sense of enmity enveloping them. Their repeated attempts to incite conflict, sever relationships, or harm the well-being of others grow increasingly visible. When concealed motives become clear in every interaction, even innocent criticism takes on an undeniable sting. While chatter shows a desperate attempt to shift attention away from their own unresolved issues, the mask eventually peels away, exposing the depth of their anguish. The darkness that they use to influence views and relationships has returned, alienating them from those whose favor they previously had. People see that the current whirling around this person's SAP energy isn't supporting it, so they leave for their own safety. Over time, the person's choice to remain negative builds boundaries that they cannot overcome. The more they project their hostility outside, the further they go from any kind of assistance. It is a fortress. They fortify themselves, even as it becomes their prison. Loneliness comes in, and the feelings they formerly aimed at others, envy and rage, shift inward, forcing them to confront things they had previously avoided. As the days pass, they understand how their acts have strengthened their isolation. Each unpleasant word or attempted sabotage exposes their own unhappiness and true character. The reality, which was previously hidden under the appearance of civility, is becoming increasingly clear. The neatly maintained facade can no longer hide the torrent of emotions that rages under the surface. Observers understand that this person's bitterness is embedded in their mindset rather than the outcome of circumstances. Individuals gradually distance themselves from that concept, not out of vengeance, but out of self-preservation. Nobody is willing to let such terrible energy permeate into their own spirit. As a result, the individual is surrounded by emptiness, an isolation caused by the terrible forces they emitted. What they meant to use as a tool of manipulation has become the bars of their own incarceration. Every action motivated by rage reinforces a truth they cannot deny. Their unhappiness derives not from external circumstances, but from the choice to feed an ever-increasing gloom. It's a self-created reality, a stark reminder of how destructive jealousy and hatred can be. As a consequence, They remain caught in their own negativity, while everyone else moves on, unwilling to fall to the same gloom. No weapon produced against them will be successful, and no voice will rise in judgment against them. You must condemn. Isaiah 5417. Beloved, hear me now. Your very existence disrupts the unseen world. You are not ordinary. You aren't here by coincidence. You have been set apart and chosen for heavenly purposes. This means that the forces of evil have taken notice. When you enter a room, something changes when you speak. Something stirs. Your presence destabilizes every conspiracy, lie, and low vibration utilized to keep others enslaved. Consider a ship going through thick fog. The captain can't see what's ahead, but a lighthouse on the shore beams through the mist, guiding the way. This is exactly what your spirit does. You symbolize a lighthouse, cut through the illusions, disrupting the forces that benefit from ambiguity and secrecy. They welcomed the fog because it allowed deception to spread freely. But your light illuminates what they had sought to hide. That is why the assaults occur. That's why the muttering get more intense. That is why you will face resistance at every level. But let me tell you something. Whatever they throw your way will not take root. Schemes, slander, and attempts to drag you down. They are powerless against the covering. God has power over your life. You are clothed in divine armor, and no weapon used against you will succeed. Oh, they may try. They may conspire. They may even feel they have won for a moment. But they don't comprehend that every struggle, difficulty, and searing dart sent your way just strengthens you. What was meant to deplete you will instead cleanse you. What was meant to shake you will instead deepen your roots. What was meant to damage you will become the very testimony that lifts you up. The opponent does not attack what is weak. He faces what has power. And you, my buddy, are moving with power. The forces against you are more than just flesh and blood. They are spiritual, but don't be afraid. You do not fight alone. Heaven fights for you. Angels are all around you at camp. The real presence of God precedes you, behind and beside you. You're stronger. You are protected. You are covered. Listen to me. Those that want to undermine you, those who act in the shadows, those who whisper against your name, their plans will fail. Their own words will return to them. What they plan to harm will be their undoing. Because when you walk in divine favor, no attack can succeed. Nothing can separate you from where God has put you. So keep walking. Keep shining. Continue to be genuine to yourself. Because the conflict is not yours. It is the Lord's. And in Him, you've already won. The opposition you encounter is not a sign of failure, but rather evidence of your significance in the grand design. Those who want to drag you into uncertainty, sadness, and self-doubt are only continuing an age-old cycle. You cannot be burdened with a futile attempt to dim a brilliance that was never theirs in order to bear the weight of their hatred, their bitterness, their jealous. Their attempts to create confusion and terror are nothing more than shadows, desperate to live in a world where your light exposes them for who they are. This is why you climb. This is why their efforts have failed. Their anger just sharpens your focus, transforming each attack into an opportunity to stand firmer in the truth that sustains you. Your confidence, unshaken by their doubts, becomes the force that destroys their illusions. Each envious glance, stated falsehood, and secret desire for your doom does not diminish you. It operates like a spark, driving you forward. What was meant to disrupt becomes the precise proof of your calling. Their battles aren't yours. To oppose their duties are not yours to bear. And when they try to hurl stones, they fail to see that they are just strengthening the protecting walls that surround you. You are beyond their reach. The celestial protection was unwavering. By a power that converts every opposing force into yet more testament to your steadfast persistence. Their negativity causes their own demise, whilst your power rises. In the end, it is not you who is tested, but rather them and their flaws. You stay unwavering, unaffected, and victorious. The presence inside you is neither weak or subject to the forces that want to test it. This light, forged by resilience and refined by faith, is impenetrable to doubt. Those seeking to undermine you do so not because you are weak, but because of your undeniable strength. Pure light has the inherent ability to shock, expose, and irritate those who have yet to reconcile with their shadows. As a consequence, their rejection is a testament to the vastness of what you represent, not a reflection of your limitations. No force hurl that you can penetrate the holy barrier that protects you. Every attempt to decrease your essence is reversed, and the emptiness vanishes before it can take root. This shield is more than simply a barrier. It is a living force. Antagonism becomes wisdom, hostility becomes power, and adversity becomes success. What was intended to unsettle you only reinforces your objective. The bitterness of others. They are skeptical and envious. Nothing counts in the presence of a resolute spirit. Their energy does not reach you. It vanishes, revealing its own emptiness in the face of your unyielding will. There is no need to darken oneself only to make others comfortable. There is no need to reduce your brilliance to pacify their dissatisfaction. Those who are meant to walk beside you will take comfort in your light, acknowledge the force of your trip, and be inspired by the path you create. Others may attempt to misinterpret, reject, or project, but it is not your job to carry. Their suffering is not yours to relieve. Your purpose is to march forth, unashamed in your brilliance, free of the weight of external criticism. Every accomplishment, talent, and step forward is not a coincidence. It indicates the alignment of the divine orchestration that has always been active in your life. A life lived with purpose does not need validation. It speaks for itself that your presence is a nonviolent revolution, a reminder that true power does not assert itself by force, but rather exists unaffected. Undeniable. Those who want to understand will be drawn closer. Those who resist will become irrelevant. And you will continue to climb unaffected, limited only by the truth of who you are.